Hello you beautiful people, Aaron here, back from the dead. Since Kokomi has been released once more to the public, I believe it is my time to release an updated guide on this beloved fishy queen, as even though the last video is still pretty up to date, there are some certain things that have changed. In this video, I will tell you all the things you need to make Kokomi amazing. However, if you are looking for Sukokomon information, this guide is not for you. It is one of Kokomi's best comps, but it is complex and would take up half the runtime of this video if I did talk about it. If you would like a Sukokomon guide, I can definitely make one if it's highly requested, and if I do end up making one, the link will be in the description and there will be a card in the top right to go right there. A few more things before I get into the video. I would like to ask for you guys to hit that like button down below and subscribe to my channel, as it helps me make more content for the future and it helps support my channel. Also, there will be timestamps in the description, so if you want to know anything specific from the seasoned Kokomi haver, you can look down below for exactly what you need. But with that out of the way, let's get right into what Kokomi does as a character. Kokomi is a Hydro Catalyst character who specializes in her off-field supportive capabilities. She is able to apply the Hydro element absurdly well to targets in an AoE, and is able to heal her allies to max health with at most 2 ticks of her jellyfish's heals. Since she scales with HP, she also serves as an insane tank, since if your carry is in trouble and about to get killed, you can switch to her and have her tank the blow for them. With her burst, she is also able to act as a main DPS character, but only as a driver for extremely powerful sub-DPS characters like Zhangling, Fischl, or Xingqiu, since her damage is lacking especially without Constellations. This is not where her main strength lies though, so for this video I will mainly be focusing on her strength as a support, but I will mention her driver role wherever applicable. Also, Kokomi can't crit, which is both a blessing and a curse, since her own damage won't be amazing, but it means that you have less to focus on for artifact farming for her. In fact, she is probably the easiest character in the game to artifact farm for, but I will get more into that later. I will breeze through her talents as you most likely know them already, but if you don't, I will give you a rundown. First, I kinda lied about her not being able to crit. She can, but her crit rate is 100% less than everyone else's crit rate, meaning you can have her crit, but it takes about 150% crit rate to even make it consistent. To compensate, she gains a 25% healing bonus out of the gate that scales decently well with her as a driver, but not as much as crit would have. Thank you, Hoyoverse. Her normal attacks are gorgeous, but useless. Even for a main DPS driver Kokomi, this is the last thing you would want to level, as these attacks do not scale too well. Her normal attacks do have her backpedal like the normal attacks of bow users, and unlike most Catalyst users other than herself and Yaimiko, who stand still. Her charge attack is also unique as it allows you to snipe characters directly below you if you are on top of a ledge above them. Her skill has her summon a jellyfish into the fray that deals AoE damage, applying Hydro with each tick and healing all allies within the radius. It also applies Hydro to the active character when initially cast, serving as a minor cleanse to debuffs or a self-stun, depending on the situation. You're doing great, Kokomi. This skill is her entire kit. As long as this damn jelly is out in the field, you're playing Kokomi right. The skill has a 12-second uptime and a 20-second cooldown, meaning it will be down for 8 seconds. This is an issue in her kit, which is then solved with her Ascension 1 talent that refreshes the duration of Kokomi's jellyfish, which is basically just stating her entire team rotation. Her skill is to be leveled first, as it is the best part about her kit. Her elemental burst grants her extremely minor knockback resistance and a damage boost to her normal and charged attacks, as well as her elemental skill's damage based on her max HP. This scales really well, especially with her Ascension 4 passive that increases the damage bonus based on 15% of her healing bonus, meaning that healing bonus she gets from her passive gives her more damage while in her burst. It's not even enough to come close to the crit rate reduction she has though, and this bonus is not affected by Hydra Resonance or Maiden's Beloved, which just makes its passive all around negative. Her burst is okay and should be leveled second, as it is mostly there to reset the cooldown of her jellyfish instead of actually being used for DPS, as her damage is weak compared to better units, even those who have been power crept. Recap her talent priority, you're going to want to level up her skill, then burst, and lastly, the normal attacks. Her team rotations are generally the same no matter what. Start out with Kokomi and use her skill. Swap through your sub DPS characters and then to Kokomi to pop her burst. After that, switch to the main DPS, then repeat. Onto her Constellations, which only help a main DPS Kokomi and does not impact any of her supportive capabilities. C1 puts out a second instance of damage on her third normal attack while in her burst that deals damage based only on a percent of her max HP. You can think of it like in HP scaling crit, but only on her third normal attack, making her in this constellation scale hard with attack speed. Her C2 is unreliable, as it never triggers and its effect is not useful. This constellation is a waste of primo gems and money, and is one of the worst constellations in the game. Her C3 upgrades her burst burst level by 3. Her C4 grants her 10% attack speed while in her burst, and she is able to regen 0.8 energy to herself once every 0.2 seconds when she hits a normal attack inside of her burst. This constellation not only allows her to output more healing, more damage, and proc her C1 even more, but also relieves her higher energy cost on her burst. This is just an all-around upgrade to Kokomi. Her C5 upgrades her skill by 3 levels, and her C6 grants her a 40% hydro damage bonus while in her burst, but with unnecessary steps. Essentially, it has the exact opposite conditions that her C2 does, as they are always being activated. Now, onto her artifacts. She has quite the versatile assortment of artifacts, as she relies less on 4-piece sets, unlike most other characters. The only 2 great 4-piece sets being the 4-piece Clam set and the 4-piece Tenacity set. 4-piece Clam allows her to easily pump out extra damage and increases her healing bonus in the 2-piece, which increases her damage even more. This is her go-to set for a main DPS or sub-DPS Kokomi, allows her to outscale a Tartaglia in certain situations. Her other main set is used more on her as it amplifies her supportive role. The Tenacity set not only grants her HP percent for her to scale with in the 2-piece, but also allows her to buff allies when her elemental skill hits an enemy in the 4-piece. This buff grants 20% attack to all allies and increases their shield strength by 30% for 3 seconds. This works great with Kokomi, as despite not benefiting from the shield buff or the attack buff herself, her skill is able to constantly proc this buff from off-field, and it suits her rotations very well. Each set is great at what they do, but they give Kokomi 2 different playstyles. Her best playstyle right now is as an off-field character, so Tenacity is technically her best, but Ocean Clam is able to amplify her main DPS role a lot better than Tenacity ever could, even as a driver. At the end of the day, the decision is up to you and whether you want to use her as a main DPS or not. Tenacity is the better investment, as it is what she uses in her meta comps, but if you don't care about meta and just want to see her more, or you have her signature weapon and want to utilize that, Ocean Clam is the best set for you. She does have more options with just the 2 pieces if you are not lucky enough with artifact rolls for her. The 2-piece sets in question are Heart of Depth for the hydro damage bonus, Maiden's Beloved for the healing bonus, Clam for the same reason, and Tenacity for the HP percent. For artifact main stats, the best you can do is HP for the flower, attack for the feather, HP percent for the sands, hydro damage for the goblet, but HP percent will also do well, especially for her off-field role, and healing bonus on the circlet, where HP percent can replace this as well if you would like. Her substats are absurdly simple, as she only scales off of HP percent and energy recharge. These are the 2 stats you want to prioritize on her, as everything else grants only minor variances in her impact as a character. The other substats that would be decent on her would be flat HP and attack percent. Elemental Mastery is also decent, but since freeze comps do not scale with EM, and since Electro Charged only scales with the EM of the Electro character a part of the reaction, Elemental Mastery is only good on her or the use in a vape comp. For her weapons, she only really has 3 in the Prototype Amber, Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayer, and the Everlasting Moonglow. Prototype Amber is her best all around, as it can be used for both of her playstyles really well, but not to the same extent as the other 2, which specialize in their certain fields. Each weapon also grants HP, which is the only stat Kokomi really needs a lot of. At R5, Amber grants the user 6 energy regen every 2 seconds for 6 seconds, for a total of 18 free energy. This makes her burst only have a 52 energy requirement. On top of that, this weapon also heals all allies for 6% of their max HP for that same duration. This weapon grants her passive energy regen, aka more uptime on her jelly, and normal attack stim, as well as more healing for the entire team. This weapon allows Kokomi to do more of what she likes to do. Everlasting Moonglow is also a good option for Kokomi, but only as a main DPS or driver Kokomi, as this weapon increases her healing, therefore her damage in her burst. It also increases her normal attack damage based on the max HP of the character using the weapon, as well as grants 0.6 energy for every normal attack that hits an opponent. Kokomi at base attack speed can get at most 9.6 energy out of this passive by doing 2 normal attacks and then jumping, which then means she would need about 2 times the attack speed to outmatch Prototype Amber in this regard. Since the attack speed cap is only 60%, and since the weapon does not increase this energy regen with refinements, this part of the passive is only really here for a little boost. With max attack speed, it will grant about 15 energy, making this weapon as good as an R3 Prototype Amber in this regard. This part of the passive is even worse than Prototype Amber, since it forces you to be on field, while the other can proc off field. Knockback resistance from her burst is also absurdly low, that without a shield or character like Xingqiu to provide more knockback resistance, Kokomi will be getting knocked around a lot more, therefore reducing the energy regen even further. The damage this weapon weapon gives to Kokomi is so much better than any other weapon, however, as it grants her an absurd amount of bonus damage from its passive effects and substats, making it reign supreme in that regard. Her signature weapon is only best for a main DPS Kokomi, as the main deciding factor is between the Tenacity set or the Clam set. Since Amber's healing is added into the passive effect for the Clam set, the healing aspect from each weapon is almost equal, but Amber is more versatile. Clam's damage is easily capped as a main DPS Kokomi, so the total difference in damage from these two weapons is the minor total difference between her normal attacks. In short, Moonglow is good, but with how low Kokomi's damage is, especially when compared to the Clam set's passive effect, it is not enough to be her all-around best-in-slot weapon, especially as she is used in the meta right now. That leads me to her most favorable weapon at the moment for huge nuke plays, especially in freeze comps with Ayaka, the Thrilling Tales of the Dragon Slayer. This weapon gives her less HP than the other two, but with the upside of allowing her to grant an extra 48% attack bonus at R5 onto the character that she switches into for 10 seconds and only once every 20 seconds. With Tenacity, this weapon will allow her to grant one character a 68% attack boost and everyone else with 20%. That type of damage is absolutely absurd for a character like Ayaka to be able to utilize. It just requires a slightly different team rotation than the original, that has Kokomi play on field right before the main DPS to place the jelly, and right after the main DPS to activate her burst to keep that jelly on the field. This weapon is absurd for support Kokomi, better than any healing increase ever could be. It being a 3-star weapon helps absurdly too, as it is really easy to get and get to R5. There are other weapons you can run on Kokomi, but these weapons offer other stats on them that Kokomi does not use as effectively, or want as much as she would with a lot of health. Stacking HP heavily on her and leaving energy recharge for substats so you don't heavily overcap is generally just a better option as well, as it allows easy min-maxing of the only 2 stats Kokomi actually wants. The passives are also generally less useful on Kokomi, as they can only be procced on field for their uptime, or their uptime does not resonate with how Kokomi wants to play, or they just don't vibe well. Ease of getting Dragon Slayer and Amber also makes the other options just not worth it over these two, as they are not only better, but also easier to acquire in some cases. For team comps, first I want to mention Sukokomon. It consists of Sucrose, Kokomi, Fischl, and Xiangling, with 0 substitutions. It is an absurdly strong, yet harder to play comp that consists of popping a bunch of elemental reactions all at once, and it is actually freaking insane. I would love to tell you more, but that's all I want to say for this video, as it really deserves an entire other video just for itself due to its absurdly specific team rotations. The main comps she is used in at the moment are freeze comps, where she and Shenhe replace Mona and Diona respectively. The main DPS is either Ayaka or Ganyu due to their high damage and cryo application. The last member is either Venti or Kazuha. Venti's absurd CC maximizes both Ayaka's and Ganyu's burst damage, and Kazuha's great CC and damage amplification abilities make him a fantastic supportive choice. Sucrose can also be paired with this comp, but all she would offer is lackluster CC and EM boosts, both of which a freeze team will not need. She can also work well in electrocharge teams too, mostly as a driver. Pairing her with Beidou and Fischl or Yaimiko is an excellent choice, as her hydro application and their electro application will make sure that everything is being tased. The last character in this comp can be anyone else who offers great off-field damage. Jingshou, Kazuha, or Xiangling are first that come to mind, but there are others out there like Rosaria who will help increase the damage of Kokomi's Clam set, Albedo to boost the electro charge damage and grant crystallized shields to beef up Kokomi, Venti for the stupid grouping, Sucrose for the grouping and EM buffs to electro charge damage, or Yunjin for the normal attack damage boosting. It's up to you, but by rule of thumb, with the Tenacity and Thrilling Tales, she can be used as a Zhongli substitute, as she can be placed inside any comp as the solo support as long as you rotate with her effectively. Lastly, I do want to mention some great synergies she does have. First and most important is the Raiden Shogun. Raiden has a lot of synergies with Kokomi, as they are able to alternate on and off field effectively during their downtimes. Raiden has great knockback reduction, but no defense. Kokomi is able to heal the Raiden Shogun up while she face tanks as if she was wearing a Zhongli shield. Both of their skills also work really well with each other to constantly apply electrocharged around them. Raiden is also able to help keep Kokomi's energy high, so she always has her burst up to heal, DPS, and re-jelly when needed. Kokomi can also super buff Raiden with Thrilling Tales and Tenacity, allowing Raiden to focus on building energy recharge for her passive instead of attack. Jingshou is also a really great pair for Kokomi, as he will provide Kokomi amazing knockback reduction on top of her own to make it useful. powerful, as well as some damage reduction and healing to make the super tank even tankier. He also provides Hydro Resonance for the clam set to always deal max damage, and they will also help generate energy for each other. Then with Constellations, he will decrease the Hydro resistance of enemies at C2, which is a support's best way to directly increase Kokomi's damage. If Kokomi is a support, then Xingqiu would benefit from the tenacity a lot due to his burst not snapshotting. Kokomi may not be an insane monster of a character, but she is strong at what she is able to do. She is a defensive wall that can output pretty great damage for herself. I have loved this queen since her first release when I got her by accident, but it was a happy accident, because I now use her in every Spiral Abyss cycle I can. She's pretty strong and she deserves some more love, but that's all I have for today. I hope all of you Kokomi wanters are now Kokomi havers, and if you are, tell me your thoughts about her in the comments down below. I would love to hear them and your experiences with her. And if you did like this video, please hit that like button and maybe subscribe as well, as it will help me make more content for you all to enjoy. But with that, I will wish you all a farewell. Until next time, bye bye!